I want to tell you that in 1990, maybe 1989, my friend Pat started to homeschool his kids. And I said, okay, freak boy, your kids are going to end up all, black shoe, brown shoe, unable to talk to anybody. As it turns out, my kids are more like that than his kids. It's a remarkable change in me. If you want the America to last, you have one of two choices as I see it. And that is get involved at the local level of your PTA and your school board and actually get involved. But boy, oh boy, is that a fight to the death, and you've got to be involved. Or you have to start homeschooling your kids. I want to introduce you to a couple of people. First of all, my sweet wife, Tanya, who never comes on television. She's the opposite of me. She is more the quiet one. And I asked her this morning, and I was shocked that she said yes, she would come on. But I asked her this morning if she would come on just because we both feel all the time inadequate, right? We always feel inadequate on raising our kids. We always feel like, oh, we're screwing them up or we've missed something or something like that. And I also want to introduce you to Lou. Lou, how do you say your last name? Hanessian. Lou is a homeschooling mother, and she has been doing some stuff with Liberty Tree House, and I'm just impressed with the way you handle yourself and your children and everything else. So I wanted to get you on, but we really don't want to. Turn this into a table of experts, and then you guys. I really would rather have you participate with us and convince the people that are home right now, that are seeing the problem, feel frustrated, and don't know what to do on where to start. Do you all homeschool? Everybody here homeschools, right? Okay. Who felt like maybe we're in over our head when you first started? Okay, you show off in the front. I get it. How long did it take for that to fade? Anybody?
I just started, so I'm still.
You just started. How long have you been homeschooling?
End of August. Well, August 28th, I believe, was the date that her school actually started. Her dad, his son, has been working on math with her for quite a while, and because of a culmination of events, we decided last year was it, and this year she's into homeschool. So that's where we're at. And I'm still scared to death. So
you understand that?
Yeah.
Tanya's felt. Do you still feel scared to death?
Yeah, a lot of the time. It's and we're just into obviously from the time your children are born, you're teaching them at home, but officially homeschooling with kindergarten. And now, we're in our second year, and it's just getting the rhythm and the routine and getting them going and interested and keeping them interested and focused. And, so it's just, there's always something. And I just feel like, am I doing this the right way? Am I doing enough? Am I doing too much? So there's just all those questions.
We also have a hard time because we were talking last night that because of my schedule, we're in Texas, we're in New York, we're at the office, we're wherever, and so she has got to have books will travel, and that's extra difficult. How long have you been homeschooling?
We've done, how many people here have gone to school too? School, private school, public school? So we've done a bit of everything. We did public, private. I've homeschooled twice now. I homeschooled my kids when they were kindergarten to third, then they went to school. We did a little private, and now we're homeschooling again. I think what's interesting is when this woman said she's scared to death, that is a huge statement. But how many of you felt stressed out when your kids were in school? Stressed out. And how many kids were stressed out?
I feel stressed out for kids that I don't even know that are in school now. I read the stuff now in school. I read the news. I think, how are those kids gonna? You know what? Let me show you this.
To Fruit Loops.
Fruit. Hang on. There's the way my mind works.
There is.
How many mothers, if you didn't know what Fruit Loops was, you would take this off the shelf, here it is on the shelf. Take this off the shelf like a mom. What would you do? Exactly. Every single mom, dads wouldn't, I'd be like, I'd do this. Every single mom would start to read immediately. None of us do this with the teachers. None of us. It's a teacher box. It's a school box. And we're all like, oh, school. None of us go, wait a minute, what went into making that teacher? And as we're finding out now, that's really kind of critical. Really critical.
Absolutely.
I trust the ingredients in her much more than I do off the school box, off the shelf.
Yeah. Well, we're the only country in the world that has a name and nickname for kids by the time they get to college, Krispies, because they're burned out. I've never met a homeschooler who was burned out. I mean, truth be told, right? Because we don't allow that to happen. Our goal isn't to stress out our kids. The pressure isn't to perform. It's to keep their love of learning alive. It's to keep them curious and flexible. I don't know, I think all of us would agree. It's not just that we want our kids to grow up and get a job. We want them to grow up and think that they can create a job. You want that bold thinking, that independent thinking. But yeah, that's scary to think of how stressed out
What
kids are.
was it, which was the breaking point for yes, go ahead.
I have 4 children. I have a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and he is half monkey, half boy. Adorable.
You should meet my half monkey, half boy.
Love him with all my heart, but he loves to jump, loves to climb, and so when you're teaching a great lesson, you've got little cutie pie in the background doing all kinds of great things. And then we also have an 18-month-old who's also a little sweet boy. And so I honestly, at the beginning of this school year, I had many serious prayers with my Father in heaven, and I just said, I need a miracle. Life goes on, and I need to do this. I know you want me to do this. The home is a haven for our children, and I can see the fruit. This is my 4th year. I'm just starting my 4th year, and I have seen the fruit in my precious daughters and my little monkey, and I have to do this, and I cannot do it on my own, and I have honestly seen miracles, and I live for them every day. Every day, I invite the Spirit. I teach them about honesty and sharing and goodness, and I'm creating a haven in our home through our schooling, and it's worth it. And I know that I am blessed. Just like Sarah Connor, that clip, we are strengthened, we can be stronger, we can be better, we can do this, and it requires all that we have, and plus that, more.
It's amazing to me, yes, it's amazing to me that that Sarah Connor clip is so true. All of us come to a place to where none of us want to do it. None of us want to do it, and it's a lot easier, but we can. All we have to do is accept that is our place. That's our role. Yes?
My children are all grown. They've graduated college. Well, one is still in college now. But we have 3 children. And the reason why, and we started homeschooling, 15, 20 years ago when it wasn't so accepted. And the reason why we pulled our kids out of
Hang
government...
on just a second. It's accepted now?
Well, but more so now than
Oh, yeah.
it was back then. I mean, people looked at you like you had 3 heads when you said you were homeschooling your kids. But long story short, we pulled our children out of government schools because my husband and I felt that they were not getting the same education we got when we were kids going to school. Beyond that, of course, my oldest son was having trouble in school because he was frustrated that they weren't teaching him the things about like the great masters or about Copernicus or Galileo or any of that. It was all junk that they were giving him to learn. So he was unhappy. He felt unfulfilled. My middle son was also having trouble. He was going into 4th grade, and he was having trouble with reading and writing. And at the time, they were teaching them how to make quilts for AIDS babies and how to do, all these different kind of volunteer touchy-feely things. And then they're coming and telling us that he has some sort of learning disability. And I'm saying, no. You're not, the only disability here is that you're not teaching him anything. And so what we went to the schools, we talked to them, and they said, well, you know, as long as we're satisfying 75% of the population here, we feel we're doing our job, and perhaps you ought to take your child out and put them in private school. And I'm like, that's insane. But we did. We looked at private schools and we said, this is not something that we could afford to do. So then we found out about homeschooling, and we talked about it with our kids, and we said we'd try it and find out, you know. We did it.
Who here, speak directly to the people at home that might be watching and saying, I'm too busy. It's too much of a quick commitment. It's just too much. Here first, and then these two, blue and green, after.
When I first started to homeschool, I was nervous because I didn't think I could do it. I wasn't a trained teacher. I mean, yeah, I had gone to college, but I wasn't a teacher. Well, that's probably a good thing that they didn't train me in education. So after I got comfortable with it the second year, I said, how can I help other moms who feel like they want to get their kids out of school but don't know what to do? So I talked to some of the seasoned moms that had helped me through, and we started a group, a co-op. And the purpose of the co-op was to get parents who wanted to try this, moms who wanted to try this, to mentor them through. And what I found is they're everywhere. There are all kinds of support groups out there for homeschoolers to mentor new moms and dads through the process so that they feel like they're not out there on their own, because it's not like your neighbor next door is necessarily homeschooling, and it brings in community.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to come back for these two comments, and then I want to ask you a couple of questions on how GBTV can help you. Back in just a second.
What is all this? Oh, yeah, well, today we're occupying Pumpernickel Boulevard, man.
Hey, everybody! I just went to the bathroom in front of a bunch of kids on a field trip. Take that, corporate America!
Oh, look, Radiohead. What? Where? Oh, I love them, man.
Freedom is never more than one generation from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. FreedomWorks is here to help you fight for freedom for the next generation. Join us at no cost at freedomworks.org and get a free pocket constitution and grassroots handbook. That way you'll not only always have our sacred document handy, but the tools you'll need to defend it too. Get it free now at freedomworks.org.
The TRS Files, True Tax Resolution Stories.
Hi, I'm Stuart B. I'm in the insurance industry, and I'm from Southern California. I faced a potential liability of $106,000. Tax resolution services settled for $9,200.
If you owe the IRS over $20,000 or more in back taxes, have unfiled returns, or are under audit, call Tax Resolution Services now, 888-7804-TAX, or visit taxresolution.com/GBTV.
You have insurance for your most valuable things, but what about your most basic need? Food. Economic turmoil and natural disasters can put your food supply at risk. Well, there's a smart, convenient solution: food insurance. Food insurance sells high-quality freeze-dried meals with a 25-year life. Compact, affordable, and delicious. And easy. Just add water for a complete meal. Food insurance can help you cover your risk for 2 weeks or up to several months. So be prepared. Give yourself peace of mind. Order food insurance today.
Cut the line to my GPS tracking with OnStar, please. Cut it.
Well, then what about your navigation system? And what about...
No, you get the little DVDs.
Okay.
That still works.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Well, but you know, there's something called a map. There's also, you know,
yeah,
also
there was
your cell phone.
in the year 1812. There was something called a map.
Welcome back. I want to talk to Lorianne. We'll start with Lorianne. When we were talking about homeschooling.
Okay, just going back to feeling inadequate and how to make it all happen, because it can be very busy. And a homeschool actually just becomes a way of life. It's not just starting school at 9 in the morning and ending at 2 or 3. It's just how we live. And the weekends are like that. You just transfer out of the public school mentality, and cooking becomes part. Laundry, we use math in everything that we do. It's a culture that we create, and very family based. And even if you feel inadequate, one thing that I remembered when I started, I had somebody tell me this, that you start, a principle-based education was important, and classics, and we just started reading. And we did that for about a year. We just read and read and read and read. And that's how we started. And everything else kind of falls into formation, and there's so many resources today, as even compared to when I started 10 years ago. The online resources, just so many co-op groups that it's very possible.
It's amazing. Everything that I have learned, I've learned through books. Everything. It's amazing what you can teach yourself if you're curious. And if you're curious enough to, when you read a book, to go back and highlight names and other books or other ideas in that book, and just start with one, and then use and springboard off of that to see what influenced that idea. Sarah?
I was sitting here thinking that if I had one piece of advice for people starting homeschooling or considering it, it is this: you are the expert in your home. It doesn't matter what you've been told or been led to believe, because of course, our government, our school officials often, teachers even, I think make people, parents, feel inferior.
Oh, yeah.
That they know more about their child than the parent does. And so I guess my message is, you are the expert. You're the one who has stewardship over those children far longer than any teacher ever will. And that stewardship, you will never be released from that stewardship. And as scary as homeschooling seems, the year I started, I sent my oldest to kindergarten, was all. I had this sense of the whole year, and I still have it. My chicks are gathered. My chicks are gathered. They are under my wings. And there is so much power in a parent feeling that way, and feeling that they can have influence over their child's education.
Can I tell you something along those lines? Can I tell you something? I talked to a marksman. I said, "Who's a better shot, a man or a woman?" Do you know the answer? A woman. He clarified, though, the best shot is a mother. He said, because if a father stills, but a mother will take you down in one shot. Tina, and then Brian.
Well, I was just going to say that a lot of times, especially parents who are removing their children from a public school situation, well, not even in that situation, because most of us have all been public schooled. And so when we decide to take on the education of our children, it's a learning process for us. And it's like peeling away the layers of the onion. You begin to understand new things, and there's not just one way to educate. And so when you're educating your children, you, just like what Sarah said, you can really... I have children. I have 10 children. My oldest is 19 and my youngest...
You know what causes that, right?
Well, she has 7 and she has 9. So. Wow. Anyway... It's really interesting to have children in all ranges of learning, and to be able to experience that, and to really understand the process, and to see them move from one thing to the next. And it really instills confidence, because I would not have it any other way. You were saying, who wants to do that? I want to do that. I want to be in charge of my child's education. And it is a huge responsibility, and I know it's a huge responsibility. I take it very serious. Education is the culture of our family. We constantly talk about it. We constantly read the classics. And for someone who is just taking their child out of a public school situation, the best way to do that is to spend a year reading. Because it's like they have to detoxify. You know, they have to.
You know, the Simon & Schuster has told me that they are very, very concerned. All publishers are. The classics are not being sold anymore. Right. You have to.
Our curriculum starts with language arts, or really with liberal arts, what we would consider. It starts with history, and we read the classics that surround that period of history. And science is built off of that, and even math is built off of that. And that's what teaches critical thought. That's how our founders, they read history and they thought about things.
You know, what I'd say to those families and parents out there who are thinking about homeschooling or see the progressive indoctrination in the school system, the bullying or the lack of quality in academics. For us, it was not, for Jamie and I, the struggle of it. It was, we're repulsed by the idea, by the stereotypes. We did not come from homeschooled homes. The full denim dress and the tiger claw bangs and the big glasses. And really, that's not us. We don't want to do that. But we had a prompting early in our marriage to do this. It wasn't the statistics, all these great things about this mere prompting, and we stayed true to that. And as we went on, and then we had children, it's been confirmed. We've seen the fruit of that, and having great kids.
Okay, Mindy, real quick.
Yeah, for people who are thinking about homeschooling, it's very stressful to think about, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for this now. But for us, it was much less stressful knowing that I was in charge of what my kids were learning. So they were learning what was important to me. They were learning those original documents. They were learning the classics, and they were learning my morals and values. And that was most important to me. So even though it was very stressful to have all of that responsibility now, it was very less stressful because I knew they were doing what I wanted them to do.
Let me come back to this board.
Such great insights, really.
You know why home teaching is so frightening? Because you can't be this. You have to choose. You have to choose. You can't be this person. You either have to be the left, and you'll choose in the end. I despise capitalism. I think the Constitution is outdated. Why would you feel that way? Because you've read it. You've read it. You'll have to make a choice. I'm ashamed of American history. You know what? When I read about the progressive movement, I became ashamed of American history. When I read about, I wish I had my iPad here. I have this great picture. Can somebody get my iPad, please, from my office? My iPad has a picture. I will show it to you. Paul Nunn gave it to me. He's an artist on the program. And I'm ashamed of American history. But you know what? That's part of American history. Or you're going to be one of these people. Because you know it. Homeschooling, the reason why it's so scary is because it makes you, it puts you in a place where you will be prepared to sacrifice your life, your fortune, and your sacred honor for what you believe in. If you want to survive as a people, as a nation, you have to know what you believe in. And the best way to do it is try to teach it to somebody else. Back in just a second. Our sponsor is food insurance. In fact, this is so appropriate that I have this. Do you take this shot? Anybody know what this is? It's a picture from the 1800s. Can you zoom in a little bit tighter on this? This is an amazing thing. You'll see the guys down at the bottom, and then there's a guy right here at the top of the hill as well. This is a message of conquerors. This is from the 1800s. This is a pile of buffalo heads that when the white man came into an area, he killed all of the buffalo to tell the Indian, there's no food here for you. Get out. That's American history for you. Frightening, terrible. but true American history. Now, why would I bring that up now? A, gotta know history, the good and the bad. B, you don't ever want somebody to say there's no food for you here. Go away. Foodinsurance.com. For any time that there is an emergency for any reason, yes, believe it or not, people will use food as a weapon. Learn from history. Call foodinsurance.com now. Call 866-9-GOT-FOOD. 866-9-GOT-FOOD. Prepare yourself for any eventuality, even just somebody down the neighbor struggling and trying to get by. You can help them. Be a service to others with foodinsurance.com. Go there now.
Have you found the last two?
Not yet.
But we believe we're close.
And they still don't know we're hunting them.
You believe you're
Close.
They're 2 children in a billion. Finding them is like finding a lost chopstick in China.
Is that what you want me to tell the board?
Remind the board that I've already found 15 and 17 children.
Just a matter of time before we
Time isn't on our side. Those kids are already too old. You know how
difficult they are to turn at this age.
I know better than anyone. But I have my ways. And if they don't turn, there's always cell 25.
Yes, there's always cell 25.
My name is Michael Vay, and there's something you don't know about me. Something that scares people more than you would believe. It's my secret, and it's part of the story I'm about to tell you. I've always thought I was the only one in the world like this, but I'm not. There are other kids like me, and someone or something is hunting us. I don't know what they want. I don't know how this is going to turn out. But I think they've found me.
The truth, the headlines, the blaze.
Now that Gaddafi has met his end, what's in Libya's future? I'm Amy Holmes with the headlines from theblaze.com. 2 months after the fall of Tripoli, Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi is dead. The 69-year-old was killed after being captured by rebel forces. A doctor who examined the body confirmed that he had been shot in the head and in the abdomen. President Obama took to the Rose Garden today to mark the occasion. Take a look.
A momentous day in the history of Libya. The dark shadow of tyranny has been lifted, and with this enormous promise, the Libyan people now have a great responsibility to build an inclusive and tolerant and democratic Libya that stands as the ultimate rebuke to Gaddafi's dictatorship.
The president also encouraged a smooth transition to an interim government and a fair election process. We're following the story closely at theblaze.com. Keep checking back for news and updates. The Palestinian prime minister tossed cold water on resuming peace talks with Israelis. In a candid keynote address last night to the American Task Force on Palestine, Salam Fayyad declared, quote, "Let me be frank with you. My own assessment is that conditions are not ripe at this juncture for a meaningful resumption of talks." Meanwhile, the Palestinian Authority is pushing the United Nations Security Council for a vote on November 11th to accept its bid for UN membership. The Palestinian Authority Foreign Minister claims that he already has the support of 8 Security Council countries. Only one more yes vote is needed to secure Council approval, forcing the bid to a vote in the General Assembly. Should the vote succeed, the Obama administration vows to veto it. We're keeping our eye on these stories and more at theblaze.com.
Tonight, we are talking about the value of homeschooling and teaching your children about the truth. I want to tell you, I am spending every dime I have this year, and I'm not doing it because I necessarily think it's the wisest thing to do. I am telling you, do as I say, not as I do. Don't spend all of your money. But I don't feel like I have a choice. I've been put in a position for a reason. And I believe that I am supposed to build something, and I hope that you will come. I am doing many things. One of the things that I'm doing is, this started about a year ago. I decided that I was going to be my own publisher. This happened because the first nonfiction that I wrote, which was #1 New York Times bestseller, one of the top 10 books of the year, top 5 books of the year if I'm not mistaken, nobody wanted to publish. Everybody said nobody will want to read it, yada yada. And I said fine. And I changed the ending of it. The ending, I think, that was originally the way it ended, which was the true ending, I was told by the publishers had to be changed. They wouldn't accept it as is, and it had to have a happy ending. And I tried to explain it does. It's called redemption. They didn't understand that. And I actually had to promise that I would write another book for them to publish that one. God bless publishers. But there's a lot of books that need to be written and need to be published that don't see the light of day. When I decided to start my own publishing company and finally got Simon & Schuster to do something